Hey guys, what's going on? It is Evan here, coming back at you for another Left Unread. And before we get into today's episode, because we generally like to keep it lighter, I did feel the need to touch on, something. Well, we're recording on Thursday, February 2nd, so I did want to talk a bit about the another video that came out last week of more police violence in this country, especially directed at black people and people of color. At this point, I don't even really know what there is to say. I watched some of the video. It was really too much to even. I mean, it was shocking in a way that I find very very few things to be shocking, and just a complete and utter lack of anything even resembling basic humanity. And in this country, I feel like we are subjected, this country in general is just subjected to a nonstop, onslaught of unmitigated violence, and sometimes it can, sometimes maybe it fades into something of background noise, but I think this constant stream of police violence in this country is something. I don't know. It never. The shock of it really never fades away, and right now it's you look at the way that this country is going, and it's difficult to see how any of it could ever get any better. It's this huge reaction in this country over the last few years. It's not just the police violence, but also this really recent, over the last year, massive reaction against the LGBTQ community, especially transgendered individuals, who are just looking to live their lives like the rest of us, and are, subjected to now this right-wing reactionary onslaught, calling them groomers, which is, obviously we've had attacks on gay clubs since, gay nightclubs since this, the whole, libs of TikTok trend, where anybody who is gay or transgendered or in any way, within the LGBT community is somehow grooming children. I think there's a direct line between that kind of stuff and the violence against LGBT people. And, with this police violence, I don't know, it really felt like a few years ago that maybe there was, I don't know, some kind of moment that was really built on this upswell, especially with the younger generations, for some kind of transformative justice or reform. And naturally, the last administration and the party within which that administration was part of reacted the way that we would expect them to. But you saw this huge upswell in the ostensible left-wing party in this country to do something about this. And built upon the backs of a lot of groups about transformative justice, societal justice. And not only did we see that party win, but they then actually followed the right wing party in reaction, and they went even further to the right on things like police. The policing in this country, they adopted a lot of the language about how they're more for the police and that they want to give the police even more money and more leeway and more jurisdiction to commit, these heinous crimes, and you even see President Biden after this say that he now has a renewed focus on the Justice for George Floyd Act, which is a nothing act, does nothing. It's just there to try to placate people who have been fighting for years. And maybe hoping that, these people are getting tired of the fight. I don't know. But, it's just, at this point, I don't know what else there is to say other than that, I know I speak for both of us here, where our hearts go out to everybody affected by this. And, I hope in our lifetimes that we're able to see some sort of movement towards a change in this happening in this country. But it is tough to see sometimes. But I think all we can do is hold out hope and keep fighting. But, anyway, I just wanted to get that out here on the top of the episode. All right, Cam, how's it going?
Good. This feels a little ill-timed now, but we got it, and we have to get our money for it. So today's episode is brought to you by Dr. Fantastic's penis-flavored cough drops. They are the only cough drops that are authentically flavored like penis. And let's see here. They are sugar-free, nice. And they have the musk that you love in a cough drop.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah, we're big fans of all the entire line of Dr. Fantastic's products.
Yeah, their stuff's really good. I'm sucking on one right now.
Yeah. Nice,
and I can confirm it tastes like the real thing.
Yep. Sure, well acquainted to.
Yeah, that's how would I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're well. Yeah, I don't know. So one other video did come out last week that I also want to talk about, which is the Paul Pelosi video. Which is, I'm not going to pretend to have an ounce of fucking sympathy for that asshole. Among a party to his wealth being made, really on the backs of working people and whatnot. But obviously, I don't want the guy to get clubbed in the fucking head with a hammer. And the video came out, and it was basically exactly how it was reported. However, Paul Pelosi had the unfortunate, unfortunate to the allegations by the right about this being some sort of lover's quarrel. He was kind of like Jim Leahy status, where he was just getting wasted in his own home without his pants on. Whomst amongst us hasn't done that?
Yeah.
I've done it.
It's the only way to live.
Yeah, seriously. You're by yourself in your house, getting your fucking drink on.
I don't even drink anymore, and I still spend a good deal of my time at home without pants on. It's not confined to the intoxicated, I think.
Yeah.
Pants-free living is for everyone.
Yeah, seriously.
Whether you're like a leech scumbag piece of shit or like somebody who's not Paul Pelosi. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, who's not just like 80-something years old getting wasted and getting DUIs. And
So I also watched that video, and I didn't even jump in at the start because I just wanted to let you make your statement. Heaven's correct; he speaks for both of us. There's nothing really to add. I think you did a nice job. I didn't watch that video because
I don't. I
don't know that I could get anything from it, but I did watch this video. And it's bizarre, man.
It is.
So, have you seen? I'm assuming you've seen both the security footage from outside the house and then also the body cam footage.
Oh, I only saw the body cam.
Well, so they've released both, and I guess the prosecution was looking to have these withheld, but they've already made reference in the public hearings to all of this evidence. So I think the judge overruled that, and so everything came out on last Friday, so almost a week ago. And it's interesting that you see this guy, I forget his name already, but Mr. Ponytail Man.
Yeah.
He's got like a backpack on, and he walks right up to like the I think what must be the side door to the house.
Yeah.
Takes his backpack off, pulls out a hammer, and just like totally expressionless, just starts beating on the door with the hammer to break in. And then did you hear the 911 call?
No, I didn't hear that either.
Oh gosh, okay. So yeah, this whole thing is really bizarre. So Paul Pelosi calls 911, and the guy's there with him, and you can hear them both talking. And Paul's like, the officer's like, okay, so what's your name? He's like, my name's Paul Pelosi, and I'm here with there's a stranger in my house, and he's keeping it very calm, and you can kind of tell he's like trying to keep the guy calm, and so he's not overtly saying like, he's not overtly saying like, come to my house and shoot this guy, he's breaking into my house. He's like, no, and the guy's like, and so they're saying like, what's the guy's name? He's like, oh, I don't know, what's your name? And the guy's like, I think it's Mike. And he's like, says it's Mike, but I don't really know Mike. And they're like, okay, you do know Mike? And he's like, no, I don't know Mike. And they're like, okay, well, is everything okay there? And he goes, and Mike, you hear Mike and Mike go, everything's okay. And he's just like, well, he's saying everything's okay. I don't know if everything's okay. And they're like, okay. And how do you know him? And he's like, I don't know him. And then in the background, you hear the guy go, oh, I'm a friend of theirs. I'm a friend of theirs. And he goes, well, again, he's saying he's a friend of ours, but I'm not sure that I know him. And the dispatcher's just like, okay, so are you fine? And he's like, no.
How does he keep... what the fuck?
I'm not fine. And she's just like, and for a while, she's just not getting it.
If there's one thing to take away from this phone call, it's that I need somebody here.
Yeah, right. He's just like, okay, I think I'm making it pretty clear that this needs, so whatever. So then you see the body cam footage, and they're both standing there with their hands on the hammer, and it's like, what's going on in there? And they're both like, oh, nothing.
Yeah.
Drop the hammer. And then the guy is just like, no. Yeah. Like, okay, you should be able to tell right then in that moment that dude's a fucking nutcase. Like,
yeah, he should have been tased immediately, bro.
Drop the hammer. And he's like, nope. And then the second he gets a chance, he's just fucking in it, and he goes for him. It's a vicious hit too.
Yeah, dude.
And thankfully you don't see it.
And he's a big boy. That is a big boy. And that is a big beef boy hit.
Dude. Yeah, he like throws his whole body weight behind it. Yeah. And later in the video, you can hear Paul Pelosi, like, I don't know if it's snoring because he's not asleep, he's just unconscious, but you can like hear his body, like, I guess snoring, like he's out. Yeah. And it was fucking crazy.
He's got brain damage.
Yeah, he's still recovering. I mean, it's been
which, you know what, I will give him credit as an 82-year-old man taking that hit and just like living.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck.
Well, that's the other thing. So getting hit in the head is like not like in the movies. So you see in movies all the time, like in a James Bond movie or something, Bond will get like clocked on the head and then just like wake up hours later in like Dr. No's lair. Yeah, if you lose consciousness from a hit, you have sustained brain damage. Like, it's already happened. It's not a question. Like, and so the longer you're out, the worse it is.
Yeah, the more damage.
And it's not just like, he got clocked and he got knocked out and he's fine. Like, no, if you get knocked out, like that's brain damage. Yeah. When you see a UFC fighter get fucking hit so hard he gets knocked out, brain damage. Like, that's permanent brain damage. And I think people lose sight of that. So, like, Paul Pelosi got really fucked up.
Yeah.
He got hurt bad.
And you know what? Like, he's not going to beat the lover's quarrel allegations after that. From the people who already thought that. They're like, the pants off? Yeah. Yeah, that's a, one of those, gay hammer parties that
that's the thing.
Those gentlemen were having.
It's
like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? That is just a drunk old Jim Leahy fucking getting his fucking drink on at home, no pants.
Well, but you keep saying Jim Leahy, that doesn't necessarily, like, protect him from the lover's quarrel allegations.
Yeah, except that in this
Randy
case,
came for him.
Randy is not his male prostitute lover, but rather a dude trying to kill him with a hammer.
Either way, that is a dude who is definitely on the cheeseburgers.
Yeah,
that was a big boy.
That gut is not a man. Is not from a man who's off the cheeseburgers. That gut is from a man who is most certainly on the motherfucking cheeseburgers.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it was fucked up. It was he got mauled by that dude. And again, to triple reiterate, like, fuck Paul Pelosi. It's not let's not like think that it's okay to just bust into people's houses and hit them in the head with hammers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fuck Paul Pelosi, but respect for taking that hit.
He took it, and the fact that he's still kicking, it's pretty crazy. It must be all that adrenochrome.
Yeah, he was like, dude, get me a kid stat. He needs, like, immediately some baby.
You see Paul Pelosi, and he's just submerged.
He's like, go to the fridge, go to the fridge.
He's in like a Star Wars style, like back to tank, and he's like floating in the pure adrenochrome.
It's like those pods with the Matrix, but it's just babies in them, and he's like, go to the fridge, grab me one of the baby pods. So, one more time, I also, again, would like to mention that we have a podcast playlist with all of our music. So you can just go to Spotify and search LU Rippers, and it should be all in order from when we started using like interstitial songs and stuff like that. So
not every song is in the exact order that they appear on the playlist, but they are in episode order, like in blocks, and they're pretty close. They're pretty pretty close to the order that they're in. I'll be honest
some
with
of them
you,
are actually things we listen to. Some of them aren't. Sometimes for a lark, we like to put some bad shit in there. But
Evan's trying to make it seem like he doesn't listen to Incubus, but he does. Evan's a big Incubus guy. I've seen it. He's got the shirts. He's got the posters. So I know what he's getting at. He's like worried that you're going to see it and think that he's not like
that actually wasn't the one I was talking about. I was talking about the Rome episode where you put intentionally terrible songs in.
Yeah, there
like
are
50 Tyson.
There's 50 Tyson and
which is a song I hadn't heard. I think since I was in since I was like 18 or something.
He's so icy, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. I figure creative control is creative control. It's your episode. You pick the music, and sometimes there's silly shit that just sounds funny in the show.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, but Evan does like Incubus.
I actually do, but...
Yeah, Incubus is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the earlier stuff, like Fungus Among Us and shit like that. Yeah, that's good. Anyway, so, today's episode, we are going to talk about a particular actor and his very spooky father. And no, we're not talking about Nick Kroll. We are talking about Woody Harrelson.
Does Nick Kroll have a spooky dad?
Oh, his dad. Oh, his dad's like a billionaire who owns like a private investigation firm.
Okay.
And like most likely why Nick Kroll would just like explode on the scene out of nowhere because he's got like a billionaire father who people owe favors for.
Cool.
He's got like not the Pinkertons, but it's kind of like a Pinkerton thing.
That's neat. I didn't think that was like still prevalent and not enough to make someone a billionaire. But hey.
Yeah, well, it's pretty intertwined in government intelligence agencies as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, no, we're talking about Woody Harrelson. And I do want to preface, this is like a light episode. I did not put the research into this episode that I put into most of my episodes. So, we're kind of just like doing like very surface level stuff here. So if anybody has like, more reading or whatever, like some deeper stuff into that, feel free to send it. And I will certainly read it when I have time at some point. But this was just kind of like one that, threw together about something cool that I was thinking about for a particular reason. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Woody Harrelson and specifically his father, Charles Voyde Harrelson. So let's begin with Woody. I'm not sure that I would have ever characterized him as one of my favorite actors, but as I began formulating this episode, I started to realize how many of the things he's done, especially lately, that I realized I was a big fan of or have been looking forward to watching. So the real impetus that made me consider doing this episode was the upcoming HBO miniseries White House Plumbers, which stars Woody Harrelson as CIA spook E. Howard Hunt. So in the Oliver Stone film Nixon, Hunt is portrayed by Ed Harris, which we discussed back in
the margaritas.
Yeah. The pictures of margaritas,
Yeah, frozen margs too.
Smoke-filled.
Not that basic ass shit. These are fucking frozen margs.
Yeah, in like a smoke-filled room as they're planning like the Watergate break-in and shit.
Yeah.
Like they're getting ready to do it while just fucking downing margaritas. Like him, Felix Rodriguez, Frank Sturgis and shit. Jay Gordon, lady. It's so the White House Plumbers is itself a miniseries about the Watergate scandal that brought down President Nixon. And as we discussed in our Nixon episode, I believe Watergate should be looked at through the lens of the JFK assassination. Nixon would call the JFK assassination that Bay of Pig things, at least that is the prevailing theory in deep politics, as he said it to CIA Director Richard Helms in one of his famous recorded tapes. In this theory, the assassination is seen in part as a retaliation by former CIA Director Allen Dulles on JFK due to the latter refusing to increase the scope of the Bay of Pigs to a full-scale invasion in order to overthrow Castro. Of course, JFK's stances on ramping down tensions with the Soviet Union and withdrawing from Vietnam would also have aided that, but those are maybe details for a different episode. Now, E. Howard Hunt hasn't come up yet that I can recall in my myriad episodes about America's secret government, but we did obviously discuss him in the Nixon episode, and I talked a bit about Nixon's rise to power in my American Utopia series. But basically, Hunt was involved in many of the anti-Castro efforts and potentially also in the JFK assassination. For the JFK assassination connections, there are some people that believe that Hunt was one of what's called the three Tramps. Three disheveled-looking men seen around the area of the schoolbook depository that were photographed by several individuals in newspapers while being escorted by police. These three men are at the center of many conspiracy theories about the assassination. I find it funny that Harrelson is playing Hunt, a possible member of the three Tramps, because his very own father is a candidate to be one of the other three Tramps. But more on that in a bit. So the man himself, Woody Harrelson, he's something of an eclectic man. He identifies as an anarchist, which I actually didn't realize until I started doing this. But he seems to fall in one of those weird nebulous zones of anarchism that doesn't appear to be wholly left-wing or right-wing, although I do believe him to be more left-wing. There are anarchists that are decidedly left-wing, but then there are also anarcho-capitalists, and I'm not sure that that is what Harrelson is. He spoke out against W. Bush in the Iraq War as racist and imperialist. He spoke out against Bill Clinton's sanctions against Iraq, and he compared Obama to Nixon in how Obama spoke about ending the war in Afghanistan, only to ramp it up much like Nixon did in Vietnam. He considers socialist anarchist Howard Zinn to be one of his heroes, and he's also been a longtime vegan. However, he also seems to hold some weird conspiracy views about COVID, which are generally more common on the right, although they certainly aren't only a right-wing issue.
Yeah, that's one of the weird things about that specifically is that there was that huge blossoming of specifically COVID-related conspiracy ideology among people that would traditionally be considered left-wing constituent groups, like super
nebulously left.
Right. And I know, without naming anybody, I have several people right off the top of my head that I know that are socially and fiscally extremely left-wing, or at least, liberal, who have really bizarre takes on COVID. It's been such a weird, polarizing issue for so many people.
It definitely was something that I think sheepdogged a lot of people into the right.
Yeah, for sure it did.
Like people with these nebulous left views were all of a sudden sheepdogged using conspiracy, like COVID conspiracies into the right, and became pro-Trump and shit like that. Which before it's sort of that Obama to Trump pipeline. You know what I mean? Not that Obama was left wing in how he ran the country, but there were a lot of people who were nebulously left. Not really politically minded, but left that voted for Obama, and then totally got sheepdogged to Trump and shit like that. But yeah, so for instance, he seems to not believe in germ theory, which is I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a book sort of closed on that bad boy.
You know what? If there's one thing that I think
he's into humorism. I don't know.
If there's one thing that the past few years have taught me, at least, it's that the book's not really closed on anything.
Book's fucking wide open, boys.
The book is, hey, books might not even be real. It's people are questioning just about everything. And so, hey, fuck it, germ theory.
Oh, out the fucking window.
Out the fucking window.
Let's relitigate.
I don't believe in gravity. I think that there are tiny little men on the bottoms of our feet that grip the earth, and which is also covered in tiny men. So it's just like a bunch of hand holding between tiny men.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's just what I believe.
Men, and I would like to meet those men, and you can on DMT. But yeah, so he doesn't believe in germ theory, and he was also speaking out against the wearing of masks to prevent the spread of COVID as recently as last spring. And it's like, dude, like I am fucking still amazed that there are people that even still have the fucking like the energy to argue about like the mask thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, like it obviously helps prevent spread, but like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the people have found a way to really show some fortitude with some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that to say that Woody Harrelson is a pretty strange man with a mixed bag of beliefs, largely including a real skepticism of government and large power structures. And that is a totally normal belief, I believe, in this country, although generally speaking, you see a lot of that type of thinking more on the right with libertarianism than on the left. I, myself, am an avowed communist, so I absolutely do not agree that there should be no government or state entities. I do, however, agree with Woody Harrelson in that the government of the United States is in no way, shape, or form to be trusted. I'm guessing that is pretty well apparent 70-some odd episodes into this podcast. However, looking at things like Harrelson's upcoming role in White House Plumbers, along with some other recent roles of his, namely last year's class satire film Triangle of Sadness, Season 1 of True Detective, 2007's Coen Brothers masterpiece No Country for Old Men, and 2016's LBJ. I didn't watch LBJ. It was supposed to be pretty bad, but I do think it's funny that he played LBJ. It seems like Woody Harrelson has a propensity to appear in some works with parapolitical undercurrents in them. And I found that interesting when looking into his background, and namely, I mean, looking at who his father is. So I guess before we get into those movies, we should take a decent look at Woody Harrelson's upbringing and his rather interesting father. Woodrow Tracy Harrelson was born in Midland, Texas in 1961 to his secretary mother, Diane, and literal mafia hitman and bank robber, Charles Voyde Harrelson. In a weird synchronicity that will reverberate later, Woody's mother, Diane's full name was Diane Lou Oswald. But he was raised largely without the help of his father and has two brothers, Brett and Jordan. He was not wealthy growing up, as he was in a working-class home, with his mother having to support the family on her wages. In 1968, Woody's father, Charles, would disappear from the family's home. Now, Woody and his family eventually moved to Ohio, where he graduated high school in 1979, the same year his father killed a federal judge, John H. Wood Jr. This slaying would see Charles Voyde Harrelson catch a life sentence in prison, and it was with this his sentencing in 1981 that Woody finally heard about his father again for the first time in like 13 years. Between 68 and 81, Woody knew nothing of his father or his father's life. All right, so according to a People magazine article from 1988, Charles V. Harrelson, a previously convicted hitman, became an important figure for his son only 7 years ago. When Woodrow Tracy Harrelson was 7 in 1968, his father vanished from their home in Houston, leaving his wife Diane, now 51, to support Woody and his two brothers on her pay as, oddly, a legal secretary. In 1981, when Woody was a junior at Indiana's Hanover College, his father dramatically resurfaced. He was charged and eventually convicted in the shooting of John H. Wood Jr., a federal judge in San Antonio, whom he allegedly killed in a drug-related matter. Although the dealer who was accused of hiring him was acquitted on a retrial, Harrelson got life. Woody closely followed the trial of his father, whose birthday he shares, and the papers, and calls the conviction a travesty. He believes his father was a victim of prejudicial pretrial publicity and points out that the trial judge was one of the murdered man's pallbearers. Woody denies that his anger over the proceedings stems from filial affection. Quote, "I don't feel he was much of a father," he says of the man he knew mainly through infrequent letters. "He took no valid part in my upbringing. Yet since Charles Harrelson's imprisonment, father and son have grown closer. Woody visits the prison once a year, and in 1987, when Charles got married by proxy to a woman he had known on the outside, his son stood in for him. This might sound odd to say about a convicted felon," Woody says, "but my father is one of the most articulate, well-read, charming people I've ever known. Still, I'm just now gauging whether he merits my loyalty or friendship. So, we will get back to Woody in a bit, but for now I would like to turn my attention towards his father, Charles Voyde Harrelson. So, who is Charles Voyde Harrelson? Well, as I said before, he is a convicted hitman and bank robber, like some John Dillinger shit. Charles claims that he was involved in dozens of murders during the 60s and 70s. In 1970, Charles Harrelson was tried for the 1968 murder of Alan Harry Berg, but he was acquitted by a jury in Angleton, Texas. In 1974, he was convicted in the July 1968, business was good that year apparently, killing of grain dealer Sam DeGalia Jr. on contract for $2,000. His first trial ended in a deadlocked jury, but he was retried and found guilty. For the murder, Charles Harrelson was sentenced to 15 years in prison, but released for good behavior after 5 years. Not too bad for a hitman. The one that got Charles Harrelson put away for good was the 1979 slaying of U.S. District Judge John H. Wood Jr., the first killing of a federal judge in the 20th century, outside his home in San Antonio, Texas. My man was a busy contract killer in Texas. What got his ass caught was being high out of his mind on cocaine and just firing at imaginary FBI agents. While in custody, an anonymous tip and recorded phone conversation got him popped for the crime as a payment by a drug smuggler named Jimmy Chagra. Charles Harrelson would spend the rest of his life in prison, and he died in 2007. But the crazy thing is that during his 6-hour standoff with police, while yacked out of his mind, Charles made some pretty crazy claims. He claimed that he had in fact killed Judge Wood and President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He would later claim that the statements were made in an effort to elongate his life while he was high on coke, but Joseph Chagra, brother to Jimmy, said that Harrelson had bragged before about shooting Kennedy and even had drawn maps to where he was hiding during the assassination. So I haven't read this book, but I did find like little excerpts online. Just as a brief aside, basically all of my sources for this episode are just like various interviews and articles and snippets that I found online. I won't list them all. But in the book Crossfire by Jim Marrs, which apparently is one of the books that was Oliver Stone used as a source for his 1991 film JFK, which we talk about in an earlier episode. I don't remember the number, 60-something or something like that.
41. Episode 41 in November of 2021. So over a year ago.
Yep. Yeah, so episode 41, we talk about JFK. In the book Crossfire by Jim Marrs, he discusses the claims of Charles Harrelson. During the JFK assassination, there were 3 men photographed in newspapers referred to as the 3 Tramps. Now, these guys are, they're like a huge part of the conspiracy around what happened in Dealey Plaza that day. There are like dozens of pictures of these dudes being escorted by cops. Now, they were seen around the school book depository and have found themselves the targets of much research and speculation about the assassination over the years. So, Charles Harrelson does bear, at least in some of the pictures, some resemblance to the youngest of the 3 Tramps, who is speculated to be like mid-20s to early 30s, which Charles would have been 25 during the assassination. And in fact, Charles would often be coy about talking about the assassination. He would constantly drop hints about it whenever asked, and would talk about how when he got out, he would open up about it, or, blow open the, November 22nd, 1963. Now, of course, the man was a mafia-connected hitman in, which basically every one of these assholes likes to claim to be the one that killed Kennedy and or Hoffa. You know what I mean? It's, mafia hitmen love to take credit for any big assassination of the 20th century. So, grain of salt. But there is at least some evidence, well, much more than a grain of salt, fucking entire shaker, but still there is at least some evidence, circumstantial, but some, that Charles may have been at Dealey Plaza that day. Jim Marrs also claims that Charles Harrelson was connected to Jack Ruby, nightclub owner and assassin of Lee Harvey Oswald, who himself was a mafia-connected nightclub owner, him being Jack Ruby, through Russell Douglas Matthews, a mafia go-between that is traced to both men. And as I said earlier, Charles is a fucking pretty prolific hitman in Texas with mafia connections, and so I'm sure he would also be involved in New Orleans and Dallas. Yeah, so I guess, I would suggest the listener, for Cam, to make it easier, I put a picture of Charles Harrelson in 1960. He looks
so much like him.
Yeah. And then, so I suggest you, the listener, look that up if you are able to right now. Don't do it if you're driving. And then here's a...
yeah, or do. I mean, we're not cops. Like,
yeah, true. Yeah, fuck it, dude. Yeah, we're not narcs. But then another picture I put of the three tramps. I think the one people say that he's might be is the one in the middle. I'm not sure though. He doesn't really look like any of them in that picture. Then for Cam, I put another picture right here. So both these three tramps. And then here's another one, which I think looks like him more in this picture for Cam. The guy standing, the taller one, towards the right of that picture. I think it kind of looks like it could be Charles Harrelson. It's tough to tell though. Obviously with the 63.
The one that's like in the background in the black jacket.
Yeah, who's kind of has
like
shoulders
a
slunched a little bit.
Kinda thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be him.
Yeah.
It is really hard to tell.
Yeah. But yeah, tough to tell. And
the hairline looks different, but that could also just be...
But Woody also lost his hair pretty young too, so...
Well, but this guy's like parts of it are further forward. That's the thing. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so it's alleged to be.
I think it's because I think his hair is like fell forward.
Right.
Like it's like longer on top. But anyway, yeah, so these three tramps are in a ton of pictures that were taken that day. Like a ton. And if you search them on Google Images, I recommend trying to look at pictures of Charles and see if one of them looks like it might be him. So as I was just saying to Cam, there's a younger, taller fella in the middle of a lot of them. That might be Charles. I think that's the one that they say. But there are other tramp theories. Like this is a deep well that people like to keep going back to about the three tramps. Now, personally, if the police are leading men undercover, this is me saying this, are leading men undercover as tramps around Dealey Plaza on the day of the assassination. And if you, like me, buy into the theory that JFK was assassinated by members of his own government, most especially the CIA under the direction of fired and disgraced DCI Allen Dulles, I would imagine that it would be easier to get guys undercover and escorted by police if they were actual members of the CIA posing as, Secret Service guards. Plainclothes, Secret Service, and police security are obviously at every event. In the case of the Secret Service at presidential events. So I think it more likely that these gentlemen were maybe CIA agents making sure things went smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And the tramps also share much more resemblance to men such as E. Howard Hunt, who Woody Harrelson is playing in White House Plumbers. Frank Sturgis, which one of them looks fucking just like Frank Sturgis. And this man, Dan Carswell. So while researching this episode, I came across some JFK archives document that the government released. It was some ancillary document released by the government that just lists people whose names come up in investigations about the assassination. And there's one which is believed to be an alias, Dan Carswell. But the people that believe are Dan Carswell, which I'm not sure who Dan Carswell is supposed to be, but there are pictures of a CIA agent under the alias Dan Carswell, and that also looks a lot like one. I think it's this guy in the front, that shorter guy in this picture right here.
Yeah.
That shorter guy looks, I think, is supposed to be Dan Carswell, and he looks a lot like him.
Mm-hmm.
I
that
saw
looks like the same guy that's in the picture above. Is that the same guy that's in the picture above?
Yeah, the guy in the front. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, this guy right here. Yes.
Yeah, and then he's in the
yeah.
Yeah, he's
this
in all
one,
three.
and he's
he's in all three of them.
Yeah, I think that might be Dan Carswell, and then the guy behind the taller fella, it looks like Frank Sturgis, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I saw some stuff that he allegedly was spotted at the grassy knoll too, or that like some CIA agent was somebody who turned out to be a CIA agent was stopped by police at the grassy knoll, where obviously people heard like gunshots. Everybody knows about the grassy knoll. It's the only knoll on Earth that people know about. The only time that word's even used, but I'm not sure on those details. But I would imagine all three are probably CIA undercover. And it's very funny because then E. Howard Hunt and Frank Sturgis would go on to be involved in the Watergate scandal as literally two of the burglars. Along with like Felix Rodriguez and I forget some of the others, but
Tramp.
What you call me?
Tramp. You don't wear continental clothes or Stetson hats.
But I tell you one doggone thing. It makes me feel good to know one thing. I know I'm alive.
Not an opinion, baby.
That's all right, Mama was.
So,
Opportunity. And I know that child, I love it all. I know
you know what, Otis?
what?
You're country.
It's all right.
You straight from the Georgia woods.
That's good.
You know what? You wear overalls, big old broke iron shoes, and you need a haircut, Tramp.
Woman, you too. Ooh, I love her. Mama, grandmama, Papa too. Oh, that's all right. But I'm the son of a gun. On this side of the sun. Tramp!
Right, that's what you are.
Rat, cat, that.
You know what, Otis? I don't care what you say. You're still a tramp.
What?
That's right. You haven't even got a fat bankroll in your pocket. You probably haven't even got 25 cents.
I got 6 Cadillacs, 5 Lincoln, 4 Ford, 6 Mercury, 3 T-Birds, Mustang. Ooh, I'm a lover.
Prove it by me.
My mama was. My papa too.
What?
I'm gonna tell you one thing.
Well, tell me.
I know the sound of a gun, yeah, inside of the song.
You're a tramp, Otis. I don't care what you say. You're still a tramp.
Call me that.
Look here. You ain't even got no money.
I got everything.
You can't buy me all those meats and sables and all that stuff I want.
I can buy you meats, rats, frogs, squirrels, rabbits, anything you want.
Look, you can go out in the Georgia woods and catch them, baby.
Oh, but you goofy. That's
You're still a tramp.
good.
Tramp, Otis. You're just a tramp. You wear overalls. You need a haircut, baby. Cut off some of that hair off your head. You think you're a lover, huh?
anyways, what to make of all this? I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
I have no conclusion for this.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's just sort of like big if true,
Yeah.
you know?
But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think it's an awesome story.
Like, can you imagine if fucking Woody Harrelson's dad killed JFK?
If he was like the kill shot from the grassy knoll, bro, like
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, it's bananas.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Fucking but you know, it would be insane if any of this were true.
Yeah.
But like much of what happened at Dealey Plaza that day, I think the best we'll ever get is to just try to make as best of connections as we can. And let that research do the talking. We will likely never know the true story.
Yeah.
I did find the Diane Lou Oswald being her name also like a funny bit of synchronicity, which like I can imagine like some like really like fucked up person who was like deep into conspiracy being like thinking that was like, oh, they're telling us right here that he's the one who killed Kennedy.
Oh my god.
Like it's just like a hysterical little synchronicity.
Yeah.
Diane Lou Oswald, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so anyway, for the rest of the episode, I kind of just wanted to talk about some of these roles that I mentioned earlier. Because this is a shorter episode, got to fill some time to give you guys your due. So Kim, you've seen True Detective season 1, right?
Many times. Yeah, it's one of my favorite. I'm not a big TV guy, but I've seen True Detective season 1 many times.
Yeah, I rewatched it again this year, probably like the 6th time or something like that.
I feel like I need to do that. I was recommending it to somebody recently, and
yeah, I mean, it's like in my opinion, at least it's my favorite season of TV ever. Like no matter how many times I watch it, if I start episode 1, I am binging that fucking shit in 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so obviously for True Detective season 1, I would go on to get. I would be willing to guess that like 95% plus of the people who listen to the show have watched that season of True Detective.
Yeah.
Obviously that is a highly pilled show where Woody Harrelson, he plays a Louisiana was it state police, I think.
Yeah, it's they're like Louisiana. I think they're Louisiana State Police. Not like
not
you know how Georgia has like GBI.
So does Tennessee, I believe.
Yeah. But it might be that too. Though. Like I don't. There's something. They're murder cops.
Yeah, murder police.
Yeah.
But obviously in that one, they in the at least the first 2 seasons of True Detective. I have to rewatch season 3, but at least the first 2 is really about this intersection of violence, state power, state authority, and it's a very pilled show about the way that these like organized crime, violence, and state governments, or really just the government in general, all come together as sort of this like one nebulous sort of organized crime ring.
Yeah, and then it's also like deeply linked with the occult and
sex
trafficking and this is
sexual
all like
blackmail.
I mean, this show came out in what, 2014?
14, yeah.
Definitely like pre-QAnon and all that stuff, but it's funny, like I feel like if this show came out now, everyone would just assume that what's his name who wrote it was like just
Nick
totally
Pizzolatto.
Nick,
yeah.
Because,
well, I mean, dude, like straight up, like watch, and obviously, like watching it again this year, like you see shit like the spiral like logos and shit like that they put into it is like an actual like pedophile like logo.
Really?
Ones that they use all right, probably not anymore, but yeah, it's like sort of like this like spiral triangle that like kind of like goes towards the middle. But yeah, there's also the line of like one of my favorite lines ever, which is from Matthew McConaughey. He says that I felt like I was mainlining the secret truth of the universe.
Dude, he's got so many insane lines in that show.
Dude, yeah, I can smell the psychosphere.
They call him the tax man.
Yeah,
because he always carried this big ledger with him. Yeah, dude, that
all
movie
that
was
dick swagger you show. You can't smell crazy pussy.
You are the Michael Jordan of being a son of a bitch.
Yeah,
dude, yeah. Just a fantastically written.
Yeah, it's like perfect. Yeah,
and so then it's funny to see. I mean, there are things to enjoy about the other 2 seasons. I don't think I even finished season 3, to be honest with you. But it's so vastly different and better.
Well, yeah. So like, season 2 is like, if you like rewatching season 2, I did that also this year. It was the first time I watched it since the first time I watched it. And it's like super convoluted, but it's very much the same themes. It's just it's like there's more. Whereas season 1 is like, like sexual blackmail.
It's super on the nose in a lot of ways, season 1. I mean, you don't get a lot of it until the last like 2 episodes, but when eventually things are kind of revealed, it's like it's pretty on the nose. Yeah,
especially with like Jeffrey Epstein and all that shit coming out, it hits a lot harder. But then season 2 is about a lot more like the way that like business, local government, and organized crime all intersect.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and also protect these like sexual blackmail organizations and stuff from season 1. Like they're very complementary seasons. Like when you go back through them. Mm-hmm. But so he took that role. There's also No Country for Old Men, which his role is only like 15-20 minutes.
I was gonna say he doesn't. I mean, I know he was in it.
Yeah,
he had that big 10-gallon hat.
Yeah, he plays a hitman in it.
Yeah.
And a hitman in Texas. but who works for some weird shady company. Like, it's not at all explained. That's one of the things I like about it. But, you know, I remember he says to, it's Stephen Brute who plays the guy who's the head of whatever criminal organization that's masquerading, like, kind of hiding in plain sight within, like, legitimate organizations. Woody Harrelson says, you know, it's funny. When I was outside, I counted the floors in this building from the floor up. And Stephen Brute's like, okay. He's like, no, there's one missing. When I came inside, I realized that there was one missing. And Stephen Root just goes, we'll look into it. The implication being that the floor that they're on discussing these illegal operations is that missing floor.
Right.
But, you know, and that's one also, again, you know, you see some of the intersections of crime and government in that one. And then Triangle of Sadness, which I don't think you've seen, right?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Triangle of Sadness, you know, of the recent span of movies that have come out that are, you know, about, you know, kind of supposed to be sort of cathartic releases of, you know, those in the, you know, working class or whatever against the upper class. It's a movie about, like, hyper-rich exploitation of others, you know.
Right now.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie. I really, really liked it. Woody Harrelson in it plays an alcoholic communist yacht captain, like sort of like a yacht cruise captain for the ultra rich, and he's American, and he has this foil on the ship, which is this like belligerent, obnoxious Russian capitalist, and they get into this like long argument about like Marxism and shit. Like, it's just right in the movie, and but Woody Harrelson, his role is only in that for like maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. It's a pretty long movie, but it's a great role in it. And yeah, he gets into like Marxist theory and shit like that in it while arguing belligerently drunk with, with this like old Russian capitalist fucking pig. And I don't know, I absolutely love that part of the movie, and I highly recommend seeing it. But and then again, yeah, also him playing LBJ, which is supposed to, I looked it up a little bit. I'll maybe watch it this weekend. But in the LBJ one, it's supposed to be like right after the assassination.
Yeah,
and about LBJ's like being pushed into power and sort of like his power struggle with the people that just killed his predecessor.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I just thought looking at roles like that he plays. With sort of this lens about his father and maybe like what his father was involved in, I think it just sort of adds to it. And you can.
Then he was in White Men Can't Jump, Zombieland,
Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers.
Yeah,
yeah.
Another Oliver Stone flick.
He's been in a ton of shit.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, I was looking up his filmography. I was like, God damn. He's like much more of a prolific actor than I even realized.
He played Woody on Cheers.
Yes, he did. Yep.
Which actually, if you haven't seen the show Cheers, that's such a good show.
I mean, I've seen like episodes when I was a kid and my parents watched it, but that's it.
No, it's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, friend of the show Pat loves Frasier, but
yeah, Frasier's hysterical.
Yeah, he's always
Frasier's a great show.
Yeah,
and it's I mean a lot of the same writers and stuff. It's different vibe, but yeah, Frasier's a great show. Yep. Cheers also a great show.
Yeah. Anyway, short one for today, but
I think it was great. I think that it's it's exactly the type of shit that people want to hear. They want speculation. They don't want facts. They don't want dates. They want to think, hey man, maybe Woody Harrelson's dad shot JFK.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe if Woody Harrelson's dad, along with George H.W. Bush, were behind the grassy knoll just fucking.
Now, if this episode, just fucking. Maybe they were back
there.
Just
fucking and sucking.
Watch this episode get like 100 downloads in Australia.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I'll be so mad.
Yeah, so
I got a bone to pick with you
for the listeners. So I was dubious about the idea that doing an episode targeted towards a country would aid in downloads for that country. I didn't think it would get 0 in that country, which it's gotten like basically 0. But everybody else loved the shit out of it.
Yeah, so. It's been a very popular episode, except in Australia. So it's not like how do I complain? I'm glad that it's getting listened to.
Like, they probably, I guess, all of the Australians have heard enough about Somerton Man.
Yeah, maybe my plan backfired. Maybe they're just they're they're weary of it.
They've rolled their eyes like these fucking assholes.
What do they even know? And you guys didn't even get to hear
fucks.
my shitty accent. I do the best shitty accent.
Yeah, I did.
times.
I got some from one of our longtime listeners, which is a buddy of mine from around here. He's been listening since day one. He gave us some feedback. He loved your accent.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he said
I got
it
a
was
lot of good
hysterical.
feedback on it too, actually.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and I
Also
say
when
good heavily in air quotes, but people enjoyed it.
Yeah, good in the sense that he laughed.
Yeah, it got
Not
a lot.
that
It was
good.
enjoyed. I don't know that it was accurate, but
Yeah.
but it achieved the desired effect. I
Yeah,
don't want anyone to get
to make our beautiful listeners laugh.
Yeah.
Our big, beautiful listeners.
I'm working on another project too, listeners. Can I
Yeah.
tell them about my project?
No.
You
Yeah.
don't think so?
No, you can't.
I don't think it needs to be
Tease
secret.
it.
Yeah, I'm going to tease it. So, and I don't know exactly how we're going to implement or roll this out, but production of it is underway for what I'm tentatively calling LU Public Domain Theater. So, I've always wanted to record something like an audiobook, but also kind of, you know, with our usual sort of commentary and silliness kind of worked in. And of course, the one way to actually have that be feasible is to use public domain works of fiction. I can't just be reading Stephen King novels on air. I would be sued.
Yes.
That's very different from like us stealing music, which nobody gives a shit about because we're not famous.
No, we're also not making money, so it's not really stealing.
Yeah.
That's fair use.
Fair enough. So, that being said, I don't know if you've ever heard of the book The Eye of Argon, but give it a quick Google. And I'm working on a full, quote-unquote, audiobook production of that to be released on our feed. Now, how that will be implemented remains to be seen. I'm not 100% sure how long it's going to be, but
Yeah.
it may lead to something that down the road is part of a premium subscriber content type deal. You know, we'll see how that goes, but you will hear more about that coming soon. We've also been discussing, as part of that, potentially some sort of a Shakespeare production with ourselves and some friends, if we can make that happen. Because we're Shakespeare fans. Our dads are Shakespeare fans.
Our dads are big fucking Shakespeare
Their dads
fans.
like Shakespeare. And there's a lot of Shakespeare I feel like is pretty LU adjacent. Now, I love all of it. It's not like I'm only into the stuff that's sort of loosely based in history, but I feel like there's room there for us to do kind of some crossover episodes. Julius Caesar, Titus Andronicus, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, because my dad loves Macbeth, and he would read it to me, like the part with the witches.
Yeah.
Because he thought this was one of the greatest insults ever, and that is very much something that he handed down to me, is the "Achrointy witch, the rump-fed Runyon cries." Which rump-fed Runyon is forever in my lexicon of insults.
Yeah. You said it so many times.
Yes.
I've heard
It's
you
so
say
good.
that so
the
many
fuck is a
times.
Runyon, dude?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the beauties of Shakespeare.
Rump-fed
is
Runyon, dude.
There's such a really fun combination of like archaic words and then just totally made up words. I mean, he was so prolific and he made so much shit up just out of thin air because it
Just
fit.
bullshitting.
So that's underway. I spent a couple hours today reading through that. I've never read the book Eye of Argon, and it is fucking hysterical. So I think when it's done and I've managed to weasel some sound effects and stuff in there, you guys will enjoy it. But no, you know, that'll probably be a month or so down the road. So
Down the road. Yeah.
keep your eyes peeled for that. Anything else that you wanted to discuss? I mean, we're rounding out about an hour here.
Yeah. Once we throw in music, it should be about that. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's about it. I guess I'll once again plug the playlist. So if you would like to listen to our music that we put on here, not our music, but the music that we put onto our podcast.
Yeah, be very careful. We don't make it.
Yeah, we do not.
And we only have express permission to use a very small amount.
We've basically gotten permission from exactly one person to use his myriad projects ad infinitum. But other than that, we're thieves. But So, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, if you hear something that you like, unless there
It'll be
are a
there.
few examples of things that are not available, it's a Spotify playlist. So
Yeah.
if it's not available on Spotify, it's not on the playlist. Or if the version that I use on the show is not available, there may be an alternate version if it's appropriate. I noticed Evan had added a version of Cortez the Killer that didn't even contain Neil Young. So that I just took off.
Did I add that?
Yeah, because Neil Young's music's not on Spotify.
Oh.
So that's
that.
I just took it off because fuck it, I don't need to hear somebody else play it. But in our last episode, you might have heard what is that band? That Australian band?
King Gizzard.
No,
I already did that bit.
no, the Angels. Their hit song "Am I Ever Gonna See Your Face Again?" On the playlist, you'll just see that it's the original recorded version. Now, that's not the exciting version because obviously, famously in Australia, when they play that song live and they say "Am I ever gonna see your face again?" everybody in the crowd goes like, "Fuck no, get fucked, fuck off." and that's the part that's the version that's in the episode. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway. You will find 99% of our songs on the playlist.
Yep. All right, cool. So anyway, yeah, please continue to tell people about us. We spread by word of mouth.
Jeez.
So yeah, do that. Rate and review us on Apple. You can rate us on Spotify. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's about it. So you got anything else to add?
No, I certainly do not. But I do hope that someday some light is shed onto Woody Harrelson's dad. Is it Charles Harrison?
Charles Voyde Harrelson.
Charles, and his middle name is Void. Now it's not spelled Void.
Yeah, it's not like void.
Still, he voided people for a living.
Yeah, no, it's a void, a very mid-century spelling of void.
Yeah,
Which is a very mid-century name.
very mid-century.
No Mick George Bundy, but it is a mid-century name.
Yeah, or Omar Bradley.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
yeah,
I think that's
so Woody's
that's a
dad
wrap.
killed Kennedy. Bye.
Bye.
It was an early morning yesterday. I was up before the dawn, and I really have enjoyed my stay. But I must be moving on. Like a king without a castle, like a queen without a throne. I'm an early morning lover, and I must be moving on. Now I believe in what you say is the undisputed truth. But I have to have things my own way in my youth. Like a ship without an anchor, like a slave without a chain. Just a thought of those sweet ladies as they shiver through my veins. And I will go on shining, shining like brand new. I'll never look behind me, my troubles will be few.
Goodbye, stranger. It's been nice. Hope you find your paradise. Glad to see you. Going on view. Hope your dreams will all come true. Goodbye, Mary. Goodbye, Jane. Will we ever meet again? Feel no sorrow. Feel no shame. No tomorrow. Feel no pain.
Sweet devotion, it's not for me. Just give me motion, set me free. The land and the ocean, far away. Time I've chosen every day. So goodbye, Mary, goodbye, Jane. Will we ever meet again? Now some they do and some they don't, and some you just can't tell. And some they will and some they won't, but some it's just as well.